cooperative housing society chapter. Before going ahead, I just want to tell about one major issue what was facing by the housing societies because of non-insertion of any housing issue. So the thing is that for the existing act, there was no specific provision for housing societies. The thing is that जो पहले वाला मतलब अभी का भी जो cooperative act है आज तक until 2019 there was no specific provision for housing societies as such. So जो कुछ भी sections applicable to a cooperative sugar factory or cooperative bank वही सारे section वही definitions were applicable to the housing society also. So there was a confusion or considering housing societies are major more than 50% of the housing of the cooperative area is of housing societies, consisting of housing societies. So it was a need of time to insert a chapter on a housing society specifically for the housing society. So this is definitely a welcome move. The act has been amended on 23rd/7/2019 with effect from 9th of March 2019. So ये एक्ट के बारे में मैं सेक्शन वाइज आपको बताना चाहूंगी. So first of all, chapter 13, 154B, section 154B has been amended, has been inserted in the cooperative act, existing cooperative act. और इसके before going to the sections, first of all, which provisions of the act are applicable to housing societies and which are not applicable to housing societies has been specifically mentioned here, but discussing those will require a separate session because those are very interesting to discuss actually, but discussing that will require a separate section. So session. So I'll go through definitely directly to the definition parts. So I directly go to the definition chapters. There are many definitions. So first of all, we have to understand this, that all these definitions we are aware of because of the bylaws of the societies, prescribed bylaws of the societies. There are all these definitions like allottee or builder promoter or promoter member. ये सारे definitions bylaws में already है. लेकिन the thing is that bylaws do not have a statutory obligation. It is more of a contractual nature. Many High Court and Supreme Court judges judgment specifically says that bylaws do not have a specific statutory obligation. So putting all this definition in the act or in a statute specifically gives us it will help in amendment or it will help in implementation of the act specifically. So many definitions like allottee, architect, builder promoter, chief promoter, those are definitions like we have already in the bylaws. I want to discuss about some definitions which has been specifically inserted in this act. The first important definition has been which has been inserted is association of society. This specific term has been specifically or first time introduced in the act, which is more like of a federal society, which has been already described in the mentioned in the act. So it is the similar kind of definition for a housing society. Federal society and association of society are having a similar kind of definition. It is only that since the rules has not been amended, so implementation of this particular term, we have to check or we have to wait for the amendment of the rules for that specific definition. Second most important definition I want to discuss in this is the corpus fund. Corpus fund is the thing which never have been defined anywhere until now. It was specifically first time used in the redevelopment GR of 3rd January 2009, wherein a corpus term has been defined or not defined, has been mentioned. But there was no specific definition of corpus fund as such. By this act, there is a specific definition provided for the corpus fund. I would like to specifically, the definition has been in two parts. Firstly, what has been called as a corpus fund? Firstly, it means a payment received by a society from a developer in lieu of surrendering the development rights of the society. So this is definitely important for the redevelopment projects. So if a society going through in a redevelopment, surrendering their development rights in favor of a developer and accepting some sort of money from the developer, then that particular amount should be mentioned or should be mentioned as a corpus fund for the society. Secondly, the corpus fund can be if a society in a general body meeting specifically defines or specifically pass a resolution that members should contribute for certain amount towards certain cost of the society, that can also be treated as a corpus fund. So corpus fund has been defined in two ways. Firstly, in lieu of development rights, and secondly, as per the general body resolution of the society. So because of insertion of this particular corpus fund definition, that will help societies going for redevelopment, so that there is a specific, until now there was no specific definition. So which fund can be termed as a corpus fund, or which fund cannot be, there was a confusion in that. So by putting this definition, the confusion has been cleared that any amount, if a society is accepting from a developer against in lieu of the development rights, that will be termed as a corpus fund. So this is specific definition which will definitely help in redevelopment of the society. So third definition which was inserted or which is inserted in this particular chapter is cooperative housing association. This is also an important definition because this kind of term has been introduced for the first time in the Cooperative Act or in the history of cooperation, because until now, any housing society only can become a member of any federation or any association of societies or something like that. So that this was a basic issue people were facing, having apartment association or having companies, that these firms or these legal entities were not able to become part of a federal society or federation. So by putting this particular definition, this specific, I'll read out the definition. It means the association of housing societies or other legal bodies. So the basic term is other legal bodies are also included or can also become part of an association of housing societies or in a layout. And the purpose of formation of this particular cooperative housing association is for the purpose of maintenance of common amenities or conveyance of land. So basically the thing is that cooperative housing association after formation, it can be consist of housing societies or any other legal body. It has to be legal body. And secondly, such formation can be either for the maintenance of common amenities or for the purpose of conveyance. So this will help in terms of Rule 9 of RERA, which specifically says that a building conveyance has to be done by the developer. In case of a layout where there are more than 5-6 buildings and the builder is constructing building-wise or forming building-wise society, and they are giving building-wise structure conveyance in favor of the societies, what should be done to whom the land should be given or land should be conveyed, this particular concept will be applicable or will be helpful in that particular area. That by formation of cooperative housing association, that particular cooperative housing association can be entitled to get the conveyance done from the builder also. So this is also a very important definition which has been included in this particular chapter. The next, there are many definitions like committee member, which we are used or which we are aware of. The basic or important definition from the point of view of a society is a defaulter. Defaulter has been defined as defined in the bylaws also. It has been specific, or 73CA, section 73CA specifically states about the defaulter concept. So defaulter is very, very important concept. As defined in 73A, it is similar to that. The only difference is that who is the defaulter of a society, or who can be defaulter? Specifically, a member or flat owner who fails to pay the dues of the society. But the particular thing which has been added by this act or by this provision is that the date of payment, the service of bill or due date of payment. So in case if a society is not giving any notice, but the resolution or general body resolution specifically says that every member has to pay the payment of maintenance charges by particular this date, and the resolution has been passed in the general body meeting, that particular date, after lapse of that particular date, in spite of, this is my interpretation, in spite of society not sending any notice or bill, the member has to pay within 3 months of that particular date which has been resolved in the general body meeting. If he has not paid, then that particular member can be termed as a defaulter. This is a specific insertion by this chapter only. We'll go ahead with the housing society. So there are a lot of definitions: flat definition, allotee definition. Allotee definition is more similar like RERA definition, as defined in RERA also. So we'll go ahead with the housing society chapter. So housing society has been defined here specifically. It is already defined in section 216 of Cooperative Act itself, but that is not applicable now to housing societies, since we have this specific definition of housing society. So it is more like I just want to tell you about the thing that's Rule 10 of rules, cooperative society rules, specifically defines the three terms which is defined in this chapter also. That is tenant type of housing societies, tenant ownership housing society, tenant co-partnership housing society, and other societies. All three are defined. All three definitions are already defined in Rule 10 also. The major difference is in other societies. We are all aware of tenant ownership housing society and tenant co-partnership housing society. Other housing societies, earlier it was only to the house mortgage society or house construction cooperative societies. Now, the commercial premises societies can also be registered as a housing society under this other housing society subclassification. This is a major term or major, what we can say, major movement or move, because the thing is that many commercial premises societies or commercial unit building holders do not or may not be able to form a cooperative housing society just because that was not provisioned or that was not included in the housing chapter or housing act or cooperative act. Now, by insertion of other housing societies specific provision, any commercial building members or flat purchasers can form a housing society under this specific section and a subclassification as other housing societies. So this will this will help them in getting conveyance from the promoter builder. This is a important or very welcome move, I would say, definitely. The first next definition part, which are more important, is regarding member. So by insertion of this specific chapter, पहले क्या होता था कि there were three. I guess all we are aware about. There is principal membership, there is nominal membership, and there is association membership. So earlier, association member, principal member, association member, and nominal member, ऐसा पूरा there were these are three types of members. Now by this chapter, two separate membership has been defined. The first is association membership, second is joint membership, and third is provisional membership. So association membership, which has been described here, is totally different from the association membership concept in the Act itself. So previously it was association member who has applied with the previous permission of a principal member that can be admitted as an associate member. So any person who has been who has applied and with the consent or with the written permission of a principal member has been admitted as an association member. So any person can be admitted as an associate member. But now, as per this chapter, associate member cannot be any person from the specifically defined persons here. That is husband, wife, daughter, son, sister-in-law, brother-in-law. So the persons who can be admitted as associate member has been specifically defined in this chapter. So no other person other than these persons can be admitted as associate member. This is an important thing because so as far as concerned the thing is that in many societies there are many people who are not concerned with the principal member has been admitted as associate member, and the societies are facing legal issues because of that. So this is a very welcome or very important aspect in that regard. So the second thing which has been introduced by this chapter regarding the membership is a joint member. This is also a really welcome move because what has happened that since the Cooperative Act only recognizes one member So any person or many people purchase flats jointly, or more than two persons has been purchasing flats, and no second or third person can be admitted as a member of a housing society, because there is no provision as such. So earlier it was always like that a first name person has to be admitted as a principal member, and second, third person has to be admitted as an associate member. So in spite of having right title interest in the flat, they cannot be admitted as a member in the housing society. By insertion of this particular term as joint member, this has been specifically all these members or all these flat purchasers, joint flat purchasers, also can become member of a housing society as a joint member. This is actually a welcome move, because any person having right title interest in a flat has to have that particular right of membership also. So this is really a welcome move regarding the joint membership. The third specific membership concept, which has been also a new concept by this specific chapter, is a provisional member. Provisional member is a member who can be admitted by a society after death of a member, as per the nomination form submitted by the member. So many societies faces this kind of problem, that after demise of a member, who can be admitted as a member? There are many legal heirs claiming the right or claiming the memberships. This is actually a welcome move for the benefit of a society. So in case of a member dies, and if he has submitted his nomination form, society immediately can admit that particular nominated person as a provisional member until a specific court's order or succession certificate has not been brought by the legal heirs to the society. So that particular concept of to whom the society should contact or should discuss with regarding the membership of a principal member after death of a member, that has been resolved by this particular provision. A nominated person or nominal person has can be admitted as a provisional member by the society immediately. The major issue here facing by the society, or maybe if the society can face, is that there are many people who don't bother to file nomination forms also. So what can be done in such cases? I'll come to that also in the later provisions. Important thing is the concept of nominal member now are not applicable to housing societies. No society can admit any person as a nominal member with effect from the insertion of this specific chapter. So no nominal membership for housing societies specifically, because that particular concept is not applicable to housing societies. So basically these two important, joint member and provisional member, are very, very important provisions from the point of view of society day-to-day management. So we'll move ahead with this next definition, which is person. Person is, this definition is more like to section 22, who can become member of a society. So this is more likely or similar to section 22, who can be member of a society, or individual, state government, central government, firm, company, those all can become member. The important thing which has been added in this chapter is a Hindu undivided family, or HUF. Earlier, no HUF can be admitted as a member of a housing society, because it was not defined under section 22. Now, but there are many things, or many people who have bought a flat or who have purchased a flat in the name of HUF, and they are not able to become a member of a society because this particular concept was not there in the Housing Act or in the Cooperative Act. Now, by insertion of this, any HUF can also become a member of a housing society. This is also an important concept so far as the housing scheme or housing societies are concerned. Any association of person. And the last important definition which has been defined by this specific chapter is a proposed society. Earlier, there was no definition of proposed society as such. So a proposed society means a society which a proposal of which is submitted to the registrar, and a name approval or bank account opening has been already given by the registrar. So proposed society concept was not introduced, and this will definitely help to societies to specify or come together and to form to go ahead with the registration of society. So this is also an important definition which has been inserted by this particular chapter. So moving ahead with the next specific thing which has been section 154B2. We have been discussing section 154B1, which is a definition part. Now we are moving ahead with the section 154B2. This is regarding the registration of cooperative societies. So earlier पहले क्या होता था कि there is a requirement of minimum 10 members, 10 persons to form a housing society, tenant co-partnership or tenant ownership society. So now by this particular chapter, this particular number of people or number of persons required for formation of society has been reduced to 5. So any tenant co-partnership housing society or tenant ownership housing society will require minimum 5 members for registration of society. However, there is also a specific condition that minimum 51%, the specific provision is that either 5 or minimum 51% of people who has purchased a flat or plot. So it is whichever is higher. So basically, even though there is a 5-member society concept, 51% should be there for a formation of society or for going ahead with the registration of society. This is more important thing, because there was a very confusion between among the people that whether it is 51%, whether it is 60. There are GRs or notifications by the cooperative department regarding that also. And RERA specifically says that if a builder has booked 51% flats, he has to initiate the process of cooperative formation of housing society. So this provision will help them that even in the Cooperative Act also 51% has been incorporated or inserted. The only difference or only difficulty here we may face is because there are no rules clarifying the procedural part. Only difficulty is that section 154B2 specifically states about only tenant co-partnership housing society and tenant ownership housing society. There is no provision for other housing societies or minimum requirement for formation of other housing societies, like for a commercial unit society. So that particular tenure, that particular definition has not been inserted in this particular chapter. So we have to wait for the rules for that which number or what number specifically required for formation of other housing societies. So it has been mentioned that no association of society shall be registered unless there are 5 housing societies. No cooperative housing association can be registered, and at least there are 2 societies or other legal bodies as its members. But there is no mention of other housing societies anywhere in the chapter, or minimum requirement for formation of other housing societies, minimum requirement of persons. So we have to wait rules for that. Okay, what should be the criteria, what should be the number of persons. Another thing I wish to clarify here is that cooperative housing association, which I have discussed earlier, that any legal body can be a member of cooperative housing association. So basic requirement is of 2. There was no minimum 5 or like a federal society. So any 2 legal entities, either of it a housing society or association of persons, or housing society or a company, can form a cooperative housing association. This is also a welcome move, wherein there are only 3 buildings and a builder has formed a building wise society for 3 buildings, and they cannot form a federal society because the federation requires minimum 5 societies. So this particular definition will, or this particular concept will definitely help those kind of people who has less than, or in a layout they have less than 5 societies or 3 or 4 societies. So this particular definition will definitely help them. Moving ahead, the next provision is 154B3, which is an application for reservation of name and permission for opening bank account. This is a basic concept, और जैसे पहले ही application करते हैं क्या करना है. Major difference here which has been prescribed is, while filing application for registration of housing society, earlier there was a confusion. After implementation of RERA, people, after booking of 51%, builder has to form cooperative housing society or has to initiate the formation of cooperative housing societies, and the cooperative department needs a required documents for formation of cooperative housing society, set of required documents. And in the set of required documents, there was a completion certificate which is already required for formation. They cannot go ahead with the registration proposal without having a completion certificate. So these issues, many people are facing these kind of issues for last, I guess, after incorporation of RERA for 2-3 years. But now it has been clarified by this act specifically that if an architect is giving a completion certificate, that can also be done, or that can also be submitted for formation of tenant co-partnership housing society. So either commencement certificate or a completion certificate by an architect also will be applicable, or will be submitted or can be submitted for formation of tenant co-partnership housing society. So there is no need of completion certificate or occupation certificate from the corporation for formation of cooperative housing societies henceforth from the application of this particular chapter. So this goes with the layout plan in the tenant ownership housing societies also. The layout plan sanctioned by the competent authority or a proposed layout plan also can be submitted for the formation of the tenant ownership housing society. These two are major welcome, I can say, or major differences from the earlier thing. So moving ahead with the further sections, 154B4 is regarding associate, joint and provisional member. We'll see it later on. Then the specifically 154B5, which is a limit of membership, which we also know that the membership should be equal to the number of flats or number of plots, whatever sanction from the competent authority. The proviso of this particular section is very, very important, which specifically states that in the plot owners cooperative housing society, a society may admit any association of society, any other society, company, organization of flat purchaser in case a plot owner has constructed and sold flats as per the prevailing rules. So these are the many, this is the particular issue faced by many cooperative tenant housing, cooperative housing societies, ownership housing societies, because in Pune specifically, many societies which are age old, past 50-60 years old societies, tenant ownership societies having bungalows, and any member want to reconstruct and sell the flats or forming apartment association, their membership issue with the tenant or parent society are pending, or many people join them as an associate member of the parent society, and their rights, title, interests are there was very confusion about that. So by insertion of this particular section proviso, a parent society can admit a particular housing society of that particular constructed unit, or a association of a society, or apartment association or company also. So if a member construct or reconstruct his plot, construct a building, sold those units and form an apartment association, that particular apartment association also can be admitted as a member of a parent society by this particular proviso. So this is also welcome and very helpful in such kind of cases. Moving ahead with the section 154B6, cooperative education and training to the members. This is a very important and what we can say कि बहुत लोगों को पता भी नहीं होता और बहुत लोगों को इसका importance पता नहीं होता. So this is a very important provision which was already there in section 24A also, कि हर एक society has to give or has to organize training and education to its members and has to contribute towards it through the federal society or federation. So the only difference, it is similar to 24A. The only difference is that earlier it was a compulsory, and now housing societies may organize such kind of training and education to its members. But the concept of payment of contribution to the federal association is mandatory. So even if the society is not giving any education or training to its members, they have to contribute to the association towards the training. So it is always advisable to have a training if you are contributing for the specific to the government for such training. So it is always advisable to have a training of such kind of activities or education and training, because it is mandatory to contribute, and in case a society fails to contribute, it can be recovered as arrears of land revenue. So this is very important, that society has to give training to education and training to all its members. It is advisable and important also, because if the people or members, if society members, committee members knows the law, knows the particular provisions, it will बहुत ज़्यादा complications और litigations कम हो सकते हैं उसमें. So this is actually required and mandatory, because payment is mandatory. So getting training also is important also. Moving ahead with section 154B7, which is restriction on transfer of share and interest of a member. So this is normal provision as per bylaws also, ki if any person is not paying his dues or pending with the dues of housing society, he cannot transfer his right title interest to any other person. So this is as per the bylaws also, it was there also. The proviso for this specific section is more important. This specific proviso states, this is important for a tenant ownership societies where there is leasehold interest. So this particular proviso states that any transfer of share and interest in respect of leasehold properties shall be governed by the terms of lease. So terms of lease are important for transfer of any leasehold interest. So this is very, very important thing, because now the thing is that people are transferring their right title interest without informing to the society or without taking consent of the society, and in contravention with the terms of lease also. So this particular section specifically says that in case of a tenant ownership society, when there is a lease prescribed, the transfer document should be consistent with the lease document. So this proviso is also important in terms of tenant ownership societies. The next provision is section 154B8, which is regarding rights of a member to inspect the document. It is also like we have already discussed, or we have already know about the bylaws and right of a member to inspect the documents free of cost. The inspection should be free of cost. However, if the person want or member want copies of such document, he has to give the prescribed fees or pay the prescribed fees to the committee, and committee has to give it within 30 days of the application. Moving ahead, this is the exact provision as per the model prescribed bylaws. There is no deviation from that or any other additional thing in that. The next provision is 154B9, removal of member, which is also like in the act itself, if any person is not admitted duly, that he or she can be removed from the membership by the registrar on an application or suo motu. The next important provision which I want to discuss specifically is 154B10. This is regarding rights and duties of member. Rights and duties of member are very, very important, because that has never been prescribed in the act earlier with respect to housing societies. So it has been discussed or prescribed in model bylaws only, but now it has been statutory rights and duties of a member. The first right is getting a certificate of allotment. So any society now, after incorporation of incorporation of this particular chapter, after formation, any society has to give an allotment certificate to its member after admission, at the time of admission of that particular member. It is not only share certificate, it is allotment certificate also, which the society has to give to the members after the time of allotment of the member, or plot or flat specifically. And the specific provision here is that if a member is a defaulter of a society, see, this specific provision is with respect to getting conveyance done. there are many issues that a member is not paying maintenance or dues of the society, and if a society goes for deemed conveyance or conveyance of the society, that particular person will automatically get the conveyance in his favor. So this particular provision specifically says that no member shall be eligible for getting conveyance if he is a defaulter of the society. So society can always say that we will not give you right title or interest in the property unless you pay the dues of the society. So this is also an important provision in terms of the day-to-day management of the society. The next provision, next important right or duty of a member, which has been prescribed for the first time in the Act, is a member shall vacate a flat when required in the process of redevelopment as decided in its general body meeting. So now it is a statutory obligation or duty of a member to give away the possession in the process of redevelopment. This is very, very important. So because there are many issues in the redevelopment that a particular member or 2 or 3 members are not giving possession, and society has to fight with them for years for getting possession for the redevelopment. So now it is a statutory obligation or a liability of a member to give away the possession as per the general body resolution. This is very, very welcome in terms of the redevelopment of the society. So next particular definition or next particular right of a member is regarding a associate member's right, voting rights and contesting the election. Associate member now can contest the election with the written permission of the principal member. Here the confusion is that there is no provision for joint member to contest for the election. There is only provision for associate member to contest the election, but there is no specific provision. In fact, joint member has a more right than associate member, but the provision is lacking in this particular chapter regarding the joint member contesting the election. But yes, associate member now can contest the election with the written permission of the principal or principal member or first member. So this particular chapter is silent about the rights of the joint member to contest the election. Then comes the section 150B11, which is regarding voting rights of a member. So voting rights, each one member, one vote, we all know about the thing. Associate member has a right to vote in the absence of principal member, but with a written permission of principal member. And joint member, here the right of joint member to vote also has been prescribed that in the absence of principal member, joint member also can vote. But the confusion is that in case there is a joint member and associate member and the principal member gives authority to associate member to vote, then what about the rights of a joint member to vote? So there is no clarity about that right of a joint member in this particular chapter. We have to wait for the rules to clarify the same. Third important thing is that a provisional member now also can vote. If a member is admitted as a provisional member, this has been important specifically in case of a redevelopment. In case of a redevelopment where a member dies and a person nominated has been admitted as a provisional member, then that particular person has no right, or there is no particular right of that particular member which has been added, or nominal member's right. But now the provisional member who has been admitted in case of a death of a member can vote in the general body. He cannot contest the election, but he can vote. So this particular provision will be helpful in the case of redevelopment. The next section is 154P12, which is a transfer of share right title interest. It has to be by way of registered document. It is the specific transfer of right title interest on the death of a member has been described in 154B13. This is very, very important document or very, very important provision with respect to transfer of interest. How a transfer of interest of a death of a member who has been died without making a nomination, or without, in spite of nomination, there are so many people claiming the interest of the deceased member. So the specific provision specifies which document has to be scrutinized by the society while accepting any application from the legal heirship or legal successors of the particular member who has died. the documents are testamentary documents. A will can be suffice the purpose, or succession certificate, or legal heirship certificate. Please take a note that there is no and, there is or. So it is a testamentary document, or a succession certificate, or legal heirship certificate, or a document of family arrangement executed by the persons who are entitled to inherit, or to a person duly nominated in accordance with the rules. So society, while scrutinizing the application, has to demand either of these documents, or admit the nominated member or nominal member as a not nominal member, the person nominated by the deceased member as a provisional member of the society. There are two proviso for this particular section. The second proviso is more important with respect to provisional membership. The first proviso says that the society may admit the nominee as a provisional member until the legal heirs with the legal heirs or who are entitled to shares in accordance with the succession law submitted their respective document. The second proviso specifically said that if no person has been so nominated, this is important because there are many cases that people forget, or people not very careful about the filing of nominee or nomination. So this second proviso helps the society. This specifically proviso states that if no person has so nominated, society shall admit such person as provisional member as may appear to the committee to be heir or legal representative of a deceased member. So the society has rights to decide who can become a provisional member of a society after the deceased or in the place of a deceased member. This proviso is specifically important because, this is contradictory to the definition of provisional member also. But considering there is a proviso to the section, we can always say that this particular definition will definitely helpful for the committee or society to decide who can be admitted as a provisional member. So next, we will move ahead with the 154B14 is charge of the society, creation of funds, levy of charges. These all are as per the prescribed rules and bylaws, which are still applicable to the housing society. The important section is 154B17, which is regarding investment of funds. Earlier, it was under section 70 of the Cooperative Act, which is still applicable to housing societies also. So this particular specific section says that a society shall invest or deposit its funds in one or more of the following: in a district central cooperative bank, the state cooperative bank having awarded at least A audit class in 3 last consecutive years, and this is until this it is similar to section 70, that either a district cooperative bank or a state cooperative bank having awarded A listed. The next proviso, which has been inserted by this chapter specifically, states that if no such central cooperative bank is available in the district, then only in any nationalized bank. So a society cannot invest its funds directly to any nationalized bank in case there is a district central cooperative bank or state cooperative bank. This is very, very important provision because earlier it was not there in section 70. This has been inserted by this particular chapter only. Moving ahead with the section 154B18, utilization of fund. So it is as per the bylaws of the society, as prescribed in the bylaws of the society, society has to utilize its funds as prescribed in the bylaws of the society. The proviso of this particular section says that a corpus fund may be utilized for the purpose as may be decided by the general body. So apart from all other funds, corpus fund of a society can be utilized by a society in accordance with the general body resolution of that particular society. This is an important proviso for that for utilization of funds. Moving ahead with the next chapter is constitution of committee, which is as per the prescribed bylaws, और bylaws के हिसाब से ये जो पहले चल रहा था वही है, उसमें कुछ ज्यादा चेंजेस नहीं है कि कोऑप्शन से होता है, इलेक्शन से होता है, सिलेक्शन से होता है. वो पूरा चैप्टर जैसे बायलॉज में है वैसे का वैसा ही है, उसमें ज्यादा कुछ चेंजेस है नहीं. The next important is reservation of certain seats. वो भी bylaws के हिसाब से ही है कि one member should belong to scheduled caste, one member should belong to other backward class, and one member should be to denotified tribe. जो बायलॉज में है वैसा के वैसा ही यहाँ पे भी है, वहाँ पे कुछ चेंजेस नहीं है. इवन विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू द रिजर्वेशन फॉर वुमेन 2 सीट्स हैज बीन रिजर्व, वो भी वैसा के वैसा है, उसमें भी कोई चेंजेस नहीं है. सिर्फ स्पेसिफिकली जो बायलॉज में डिफाइन किया हुआ है कि हु कैन बी टर्म एज अ SC और ST और हु कैन बी टर्म एज अ डीनोटिफाइड ट्राइब्स, वो सिर्फ क्लैरिफिकेशन दिया हुआ है यहाँ पे, बाकी कुछ बदल उसमें कुछ नहीं है. इट इज एज पर द बायलॉज ओनली. The most important point here is 154B22, which states that general provision for strength of the committee for quorum. ये बहुत सारे लोगों को इश्यूज आता है कि स्ट्रेंथ क्या पकड़नी, अगर कोई रिजर्व कैटेगरी में नहीं है, अगर कोई वुमेन नहीं है, तो उनका अगर वैसे ही रखना है या कोई जनरल मेंबर उनके बिहाफ पे जा सकता है, ऐड हो सकता है, तो ऐसा नहीं होता. Specifically, this provision specifically says that agar if those people are not available to fill the reserve seats, then such reserve seats shall not be counted for strength of the managing committee. So वो छोड़ के आपको मैनेजिंग कमेटी का सिंपल मेजोरिटी से कोरम तैयार करना है. वो no one can admitted on behalf of or in place of these particular seats if those are not available. Next section is 154B23, which is a disqualification of committee and its members. This is also the same as per the bylaws की क्या-क्या, if he is a defaulter, if he carries on the business, जो bylaws में है वही provisions यहाँ पे incorporate किया है. Just the thing is that now it is a statutory provision. So ये पूरा चीजें, the important thing here is disqualification of a member is if he incurs, one of the provisions says that if he incurs any of the disqualification similar to that mentioned in the provisions of clause 7, 6, 7 or 8, 7, 8 or 9 of clause F of subsection 1 of 73 CA. So section 7 specifically states that after 2001, if a member is having more than 2 childs, he will be disqualified for becoming committee members, but there are many ifs and buts which has to be discussed separately. So this is an important provision. A person having more than 2 childs cannot become a member of housing society, a committee member of a housing society after 2001, sorry. Next provision is regarding 154B24, which is a motion of no confidence against the officer of the society, which is as per the 73 ID. There is no change in that. It has to be by 2/3 of the majority of the committee members with an application to the registrar, and registrar has to proceed as per the 73 ID. It is same as applicable to the as applicable earlier also. So next chapter is 154B25, which states about the management of housing society, housing complex, housing association, or housing federation. So that has to be as per the manner as may be prescribed, and the rules has not been prescribed yet, so we have to wait rules for the particular for application of this particular section. Next chapter is next section is 154B26, which is allotment of plots, flats, or houses through draw plots. This is the same thing as the society has to allot in the absence of contract to the contrary. So if there is an agreement specifically with the builder, then the society has to allot that particular flat to the that particular flat purchaser who become a member of the society. So in case of non-agreement, the society has to allot the plots through draw plots. Nowadays there is no case of specific there is no previous agreement and the society has purchasing a property, constructing it, and then allotting it. Then in such case this particular section will be applicable. The next provision is 154B27. It is obligation of society to take action and registrar's power to enforce. So this is very particular and very important definition or in section. It specifically says that if a society is required to take action for performance of its obligation, responsibilities, and duties as provided in the Act, rules, bylaws, or to execute the orders issued by the state government. This is very, very important. The society has to execute the orders issued by the state government or by the registrar. So any notification, any order by any registrar are mandatory to the housing society to implement. And if the society fails to implement, registrar by this particular section has the power to implement it or to take an action against the society. So whatever orders or whatever by particular notifications which has been prescribing or which has been given by the registrar or state government are mandatory even regarding this COVID-19 and any particular definition or particular order of the government. It is mandatory on the society to implement that particular order or to take action on that particular order. The next important provision, this particular section specifically says that how the registrar can implement the order, how that can be done. The opportunity should be given to the society before passing any order, and the 30 days. The third part of this particular section specifically said, which is a major issue many people are facing, that obtaining a no objection certificate either for transfer of flat or plot or for mortgaging the plot or flat. So many people face this issue that society didn't give the NOC, society is not willing to give NOC. This particular chapter specifically says that a society after application by a member has to give its NOC within 30 days or specifically say reject that particular application within 30 days and with a specific reason for rejecting the same. So the society now, it is mandatory to the society or on the society to give NOC either give NOC or reject the application within 30 days from the date of application, and it has to inform within next 15 days to that particular member. In case the member particularly want the NOC, then he may apply to the registrar directly after, if in case of the society rejects the application or didn't give response to the application. So society, the member can approach to the registrar and can get the specific NOC from the registrar also. The basic thing is here that the time which has been prescribed is a longer duration. So 30 days time to the society, and after that 15 days to inform the member, and then to approach to the registrar, it will almost take 60 plus days. So that particular time period is maybe a issue to that particular person who is on the verge of taking loan or on the verge of transferring his rights, title, interest. So this particular time period has to be discussed or has to be considered by the government while revising the rules. The next provision is 154B28, which is regarding housing federations, their powers and duties. So housing federation powers are the similar one as 154B6. Housing federation shall create the educational training fund. It has to help the societies in maintaining or day-to-day management of the societies. The major issue is that every housing society has to contribute to the education and training fund maintained by the notified housing federation. As we discussed earlier, that the society, it is mandatory on the society to contribute towards the education and training fund. There is no escape for contributing to education and training fund by any society. So it has to be the contribution should be to the housing federation, notified housing federation, definitely. And what the notified housing federation shall utilize such particular fund for either arranging seminars or imparting training to the persons or for any other person as purpose as may be prescribed by the government from time to time. So there is no escape from payment, or there is no escape from contribution towards this particular fund. Many societies are not aware about this, but this is mandatory provision. You have to contribute towards this particular fund to the housing federation, notified housing federation, definitely. And the notified housing federation shall utilize such fund for arranging seminars or for imparting training to the person to be appointed as manager or special recovery officers also. So this particular thing we have to notice, and we have to specifically take a note that we have to contribute towards this particular fund. So it is better to take benefit also from that. The next provision is every notified housing federation shall prepare, declare, and maintain the panel of managers and specially recovery officers as per the guidelines issued by the registrar. So every housing federation, notified housing federation may prepare, declare, and maintain a panel of managers or special recovery officers for the purpose of recovering dues or as per the orders of 154B29. So the special recovery officer giving training to that is the duty of Housing Federation, notified Housing Federation, definitely. Moving ahead with next provision is every notified Housing Federation shall apply to the registrar for delegation of necessary powers to the person so trained as special recovery officers. So Housing Federation has to give training to such special recovery officers and has to apply to the registrar for delegation of such particular powers to those particular special recovery officers. And the next provision is specifically society may appoint special recovery officer from such panel for execution of recovery certificate. So for execution of recovery certificate, society may apply to the registrar and may appoint any person so appointed or so empaneled by the government as special recovery officer. So society may apply such particular person or that particular person from the panel as special recovery officer for the recovery of its dues from its member. The next provision, which is also most important provision, I would say, it is in 154B29, which is in the place of 101. So 101 ka recovery which is a commonly known term. So now for housing societies, 101 is not applicable. Now 154B29 is applicable to all housing societies. So it talks about the recovery of certain sums in areas due to housing societies and areas of land revenue. The same procedure has been prescribed as prescribed in under section 101. So the same process society has to apply to the registrar for the recovery of its dues, its repairs and maintenance fund, construction cost and service charges from its members. And with the supporting document, and the registrar has to give opportunity of hearing to that particular member and can pass a recovery certificate, can grant a recovery certificate. And this particular provision is also that a certificate granted by the registrar under subsection 1 or 2 shall be the final and conclusive proof. So there is no appeal for this particular certificate granted by the registrar, which was not there earlier also under 101, section 101. So this is a particular specifically provision. The only issue is that there is no amendment in the rules as such, or there is no prescription of procedure for such recovery officer or recovery proceedings to be conducted under 154B29. So we have to wait for, this is my interpretation, we have to wait for the rules to be amended by the government for implementation of this particular section. The next section is 154B30, which is regarding house building cooperative societies which have achieved their objective. So, the registrar may, in case of house building cooperative housing societies which have achieved, registrar may pass an order to deregister such kind of societies. The last section which has been incorporated in this particular chapter is a saving clause. The saving clause specifically says that any rules, order, bylaws, circulars, or instruments in force which has not been expressly repealed or modified or amended shall be continued or to apply to the housing societies. So any since there is no amendment in the rules, so the existing rules, existing bylaws are still applicable, though there are contradictions to the this particular chapter and bylaws and rules, but still the provision specifically says that those which are not repealed, expressly repealed, are applicable to the housing society. So right now, all the bylaws, all the rules are applicable to the housing society since not amended particularly. The second thing is that any proceeding by or against the society pending before any court of law on the date of commencement of this particular chapter shall be decided as if the provisions of this chapter are not made applicable in respect of such society. So this particular insertion of this particular chapter will not affect on any proceedings or any legal issues going on in any court, cooperative court or register. So that particular issue has to be decided as per the earlier provisions only. So I guess I have covered all the issues majorly or incorporation of section 154B. We have to wait for the rules for the implementation of many of these provisions, many of the provisions. But overall, this insertion of this particular chapter is helpful for the housing societies to considering the thing is that now many of these are statutory obligations and statutory duties of a housing society or a member. So implementation of those particular provisions will be easy or will be more feasible for the housing societies by insertion of this particular chapter.